So I was posed this question: what would I have changed? What would I have done differently if I was to go back and do a PhD, do the research process all over again? And I was thinking about this. I didn't know how to answer this particular question because it's actually really tough. And my initial response is I wouldn't have changed anything. But looking back, I think I've actually grown as a person. And that's where I would like to begin this conversation, is that when you go and you're a first year PhD, and hopefully you're listening to this and hopefully somebody got you to watch this, it's not about the material. And you are going to believe that you want to be very practical and just learn the material. But in fact, what's going to happen is that you're going to learn more about yourself and what you represent and who you actually are as an individual and what you want to become. And this took a lot for me to understand. I was a very practical person. If you understood who I was, I grew up, my parents were very blue collar. We had enough, but, we're never rich. And so my goal was to do, if you look at the degrees that I got, it was like always becoming more and more successful, making more money, and defining myself as like moving up in my particular career, right? So I became an engineer, then I got I got a master's in management science, and then I thought, hey, wouldn't this be the best thing to do is to get a PhD so I can become a consultant and then make a whole boatload of money and fly around the world and understand, talk to all these CEO types and all that kind of stuff. And the truth is I do things that are far from that at this moment. And my goal in terms of how I handle myself and what I've become is totally different. I have grown as an individual inside, and I realized, so I was always really good, not always, but I learned to become a good student. And so I was very quick in getting through my master's. I was expediting things, very career oriented. But then I became much more of the realization, my priorities changed in who I actually was and what I wanted to become. And instead of thinking about the process of some sort of pinnacle in terms of how we think about things, I had to recalibrate and think about myself as that this is enormously difficult to do really, really well. And the reason is that everybody in the profession, particularly once you start getting at the high levels, they were all those students as well, right? And particularly if you look at, who these people are, they were all extraordinarily successful, at least in the circles I run in, very successful with who they are. Many of them are, world class in any particular domain that you're looking at, like Olympians and, the best student in their country. I remember listening to somebody tell me that, and I was like, okay. Like all of these things, right? And once you get to that level, you realize that you're competing against this tiny, tiny, tiny pool of everybody that is doing really well. And so you have to redefine yourself and how you view the world and how you interact with it. And really what you're doing is not necessarily moving up and, becoming this sort of ultra successful person, which ultimately you're going to become anyways, but learning how to manage that process. And so for a ton of what I have become is learning my emotions, learning who I am, what I want to represent, what is the stories that I want to tell. And these things are really sort of soft things, and they're not really important in the big grand scheme of things, but they're everything, right? Like, they're not going to make me more money to do these particular things, but and they're not going to result in a better life and all those kind of that stuff, but it becomes more important to define what it is that I want to do. And I'm going to tell you this right now, I'm 45 years old. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And that never changes. And so you're always questioning yourself and thinking about yourself in terms of what is it that we really want to do here? What is the true essence? And this is the thing that we grapple with repeatedly, right? Like, it makes no sense for many of us to grapple with a problem for 25 years. Yet many of us actually do this. And that problem might be important, it might not be important, but it's the problem that's really important to you. And then you have to figure out, why is it that I'm actually interested in this thing? People are going to question it. Everybody's going to question it. Everybody's going to think that you're insane. Everybody's going to say, that, why are you doing this? And then you're going to question yourself. And so all of these things are going to really come up. And then you have to define yourself with what that actually means. It's more of a process of thinking about, it's more of a religious process, right? It's more of a duty process or something along those lines than, I'm going to make a whole bunch of boatload of money and all that kind of stuff. Which, I mean, if you think about it, this is kind of what CEOs of large multinational companies have to go through. They're already talented. They're all making boatloads of money. They're doing extraordinarily well, and they have to think about, why is it they do what they actually do. Yes, there's a lot of people that are, self-motivated in the sense that they just want to make more money, but there's a lot of people that really do want to make a difference and really do want to change the world in terms of how they view who they are. Somebody that's, for example, like a judge or somebody that's working in the prison system or, something along those lines. And those are hard jobs. And they're not easy jobs at all. And you have to redefine yourself and how you view why it is that you're actually doing this thing. It has very little to do with the status and all that kind of stuff. And you're going to grapple through this as you go through it. And I want you to sort of think about this, is that no matter what you do, you're going to be told that you're wrong. And as you grapple through this, you have to realize that you're a good person inside, that you're already remarkable. That's why I already say that. And then on top of it, figuring out, like, what is it that I actually am? And you are going to go through a lot of those moments. And as a first-year PhD student, I didn't realize that. I thought the process would be very linear. I thought it would be very simple, and you get out and make a boatload of money. But it's not the case. It is a challenging, emotional process, not about the stuff that you're learning, but more about thinking of, what is it that I actually am? Who is this person right here, standing in front of the mirror, that I want to become? And that's the harder problem. And that's the thing that you're going to grapple with repeatedly. And that is the challenge that you're going to face. What would I have changed looking back? I would have been easier on myself. I would have realized that this is just the natural process of it, which I'm constantly trying to remind myself. Remember, I'm 45 years old, still trying to figure this out, still not knowing what all of this is about. And I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But the key thing that I keep reminding myself is that I'm a remarkable good person as it is. And hopefully you will do the same thing as you're listening to this, is to constantly remind yourself that, because it's going to be a very difficult process to go through it all. And the more that you realize that, the more likely you're going to stick through all of this and be happy with the situation that you have. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.